everybody. Welcome to Crimes, Killers, Cults, and Beer. This is episode 4 of the new CKCB Features series. And with me today, we are proud to have Mack Maloney, the author of the book, How to Dump a Body at Sea and Not Get Caught. It's a great book. How's it going, Mack?
It's going good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and it's always good when I see a guest, raise a drink to his lips. So, cheers, buddy. but okay, this is the Ferrari story, and I'm just gonna let you set it up and tell what the book is, because you're better equipped to say that than I am.
Okay. Well, just a little bit of background. I mean, I've been writing books for many years. I think this is my 63rd book. But all the other books before that were military fiction and science fiction. And
Nice.
So just had this opportunity from, it was a new publisher, and they we signed this multi-book deal, and one of them was a book, TBD, that's like to be determined and so on. Mm-hmm. So I said, why not? Why not just write something that's just completely away from what you've been writing for all these years? So in the meantime, as I was telling you off air, my neighbor is someone who is kind of a character, and he would tell me all these stories about growing up in Boston, in the Boston area, and how there are people that he was associated with that were, not really mob guys, but they were kind of, low-level criminals and scammers and stuff like that. And he just had so many of these kind of fascinating stories in a way, and so he wrote them down, turned them into a book.
Yeah, and my God, for our listeners, this book, the story, is on the level crazy of Michael Malloy. And our listeners will get that reference, and because that was the first ever CKCB episode. But I was telling somebody it's Michael Malloy meets Forrest Gump meets The Godfather.
Yeah, perfect description.
Yeah, and I started reading the book. I mean, we've been exchanging emails for like 2 months. And but and it's just I'm swamped and everything. I got to it, and and once I started reading it, once I got past the first couple of pages, I could not put the thing down.
It's really good to hear. Believe me, for an author to hear that you can't get better compliments. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, it's I mean, in this book, you're going to learn how not to burn a car, and and reading that section, I was just like, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If I had to burn a car and I had the exact same materials, I'd probably be dead.
Me too, absolutely. I mean, you always think you put the gasoline in the car and you just throw a match in. No, they'll be picking up pieces of you. You stand 20. It's the vapors that blow up. It's not the gasoline. It's the gasoline vapors that catch on fire. And you got to be standing a good distance away for when it blows, And so it's an instructional book as well.
But it's just this guy Al Ferrari, and I'm assuming that's not his real name.
No, it's close, but no, it's not his real name, no.
Okay, no worries. But he's a guy who's just like, it's like he's the living embodiment of if life gives you lemon, make lemonade. Because
Right, exactly.
because he's been thrown an awful lot of lemons, and some rotten lemons too, and he always managed to make sweet lemonade out of everything that came to him. I mean, it's a collection of stories, and I'm guessing, I don't want to give too much away, but I'm guessing that because like each chapter it'll have like the police officer Steve Bruce is talking to reporters and whatnot. So I'm guessing that this is during the time where he was MIA and presumed dead.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it does follow a timeline, and the way that the story is told is through interviews with people who knew Al Ferrari, cops and family members, and then Al himself. And the idea is that they taped all these things over the course of the few years that this book takes place, and then at the end of it, someone sat down and transcribed the interviews and turned them into a book. So the entire book is based on interviews with these number of people, and through those interviews, you hopefully get to learn the story.
Right. Okay. This guy battled pirates. This guy.
Yes.
This guy. This guy survived a shipwreck.
Right.
This guy got dressed down by a parrot. Survives prison.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Oh, and that whole prison, that whole
the prison stuff is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the prison stuff is crazy. There's no doubt about that. It's just really out there, and it's based on real stuff. Just don't go to prison is really the moral of the story. But if you're going to go, the thing about Al is we put on the side of the book, wrong place, right time. That's his thing. Wrong place, right time. And he's just able to make the most out of these really weird situations that he got himself into.
Yeah, and it wasn't really that he went looking for it. It's just they kind of found him.
Right.
Yep. And it's like, I was, I couldn't put it down. And there were parts of that book, like toward the end, where, like I said, I alluded to earlier, where he was presumed dead and everything. And I even kind of got emotional a little bit. I was just like, no.
Oh, wow, good. Great to hear. Good to hear. I can bring out, and we were talking off here how we don't want to, ruin it for anybody or ruin the plot. But if I could just talk about one scheme, there's a bunch of them in there. But just one scheme, and you kind of get the flavor of the book, and that's the whole thing with Sears Roebuck and the tools.
Oh, yeah, that was great. And I've worked in a Sears, so I'm familiar with the barrel.
Okay, okay. So here's how it worked. So Craftsman, Sears, a long time ago, had Craftsman tools, and they were known to be very, very good, and so good that you'd get a lifetime guarantee on the wrench or the drill or whatever you bought for Craftsman. And you could walk into any Sears without a receipt and say, this is broken, and they'd give you a new one, no questions asked. That was their thing. And it made everyone think that these are great tools. Well, they were good, but the thing is that they weren't really good. They weren't all good. So the people that would bring them back, especially these stores in Boston, and Sears, when I had heard of this, I always thought, Sears just takes the tools and they refix them, they refurbish them, and they sell them. No, they send them to China and they melt them down to make other things. Right. So the truck drivers who were involved in moving the returned Sears tools from Massachusetts to California started stealing the broken tools. And what they would do is they would sell them half price at yard sales. And people in the know would say, Craftsman, they take out a drill, it's broken, they pay half price for it, they go to Sears, say, I want a new drill, and then get a new drill, basically for half price. That was the scam. But the problem is, did I explain that right? I'm trying to do it as simple as possible.
Actually, you know what? The way you explained it made a lot more sense to me, and that was because I was reading, I was reading it, and getting interrupted, because I when I do my reading, I'm in the truck when I do it, and so it's like, okay, the way you just explained it makes a lot more sense than what I interpreted it to be.
Okay,
and it's like, okay.
So what they did then was, I was going to say, so what their downfall was that Sears eventually realized that there were 50 barrels of these quote unquote broken tools leaving Massachusetts, go to California, and all of a sudden there's 20 barrels. And they go,
right.
Where'd those other 30 barrels of this things go? So it's interstate crime. So they put the FBI on it, and Al is just taking a friend of his place at this, this swap meet this one afternoon here up in Massachusetts, and these undercover FBI agents come up and they buy all the tools and they arrest him for interstate commerce, felony, whatever, the works. But it turns out that Sears didn't want any publicity from this, and the FBI basically let him go. They confiscated his money. He was already kind of on parole. He could have went right back to jail, but because Sears did not want to make a big deal out of it, he got to go scot-free. And, that doesn't happen to many people.
No.
But it happened to him.
The Plum story. Yeah, I mean, I can...
Yeah. We can tell the Plum story. I mean...
Yeah.
The Plum story is, as I say, we're up in the Boston area, and there's a part of Boston called the North End, and you would go there and you would swear that you're in Italy. It's all Italian restaurants. Everyone speaks Italian. Not so much these days, but still, kind of very, very much an Italian enclave, and the best Italian food like in the world. So anyway, they set up a fruit stand in the middle of this very, very busy part of Boston. And they're selling fruit, and Al and his buddy get hired there. They're the only ones that can speak English at this place. Everyone else speaks Italian, except their boss. And it turns out that he's actually doing it because he owes the mob money, because he's bad at betting the horse racing. And he's turning over a vig, 10% every night of the fruit stand to the mob. It's kind of funny even me talking about it now. And these two knuckleheads steal the money without knowing it's going to the mob. And it all happens because they give a plum to these cute chicks who are always walking around where this fruit stand was set up. There's a municipal pool like a block away. And there was just like a parade of, cute girls in bikinis and stuff going back and forth. They couldn't help it. They start giving away the free fruit. That leads to them going on. They're supposed to go on a date. They steal the money. The date doesn't happen. Everything goes wrong. They have to go and apologize to this kind of Godfather guy. And he's okay with it. But as they're walking out the door, the Boston police raid the place and they get arrested. And that's how he goes to jail.
Over a plum.
It's crazy. Even talking about it now is kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a very interesting life myself and everything, but I've never, it's just, I've told various things to people and everything, like, wow, you've had a very interesting life, and I have. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could actually write a book about, the crazy life of an average nobody, but and I was actually considering doing just that, but but it's just I've found myself in a lot of crazy situations, but it's just like if he's number if his life experiences is 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 2 or a 3.
Me too. Yeah, me too. The funny thing is that he doesn't gamble, and I tell him all the time. I said, "Man, you should, get lottery tickets or something because, you'll probably lose 100 times, but the 101st time you win, it's going to be like $1 million.
No
That's
kidding.
how your life goes." And but he refuses to gamble. So he's a funny guy. In real life, he's a funny guy.
So just on the back, okay, I'm just going to read the back cover of the book real quick. Mm-hmm. Follow Hollywood sensation Al Ferrari on a true crime odyssey as he navigates the tough urban environment of Greater Boston in the late 1980s. Meet Lonely Larry, Crazy Louie, Jumbo Zal, Pete Pistol, the Plum Girl, who we just talked about, as they help Al along the way to stardom. In this book, you will learn how not to burn a car, which we've already talked about. Well, we touched on it. How to turn a Celica into a Rolls Royce. No joke. How not to rip off Sears, which we just talked about, and how to really piss off the mob.
Right.
But then it says soon to be a motion picture. Is that? I mean, is there a word on this? Because I want to see the movie.
Let me just say, there's no word on it, no definite word on it yet.
Okay.
I've been involved with these things before, and there's never any definite word on it until you actually like sign a contract, and even then, you'd be reluctant to talk about it. But there's no definite word. Let me put it that way. That's probably the best way to put it.
Well, I've been saying for years that that Hollywood needs to stop rebooting old films and just go to the bookstore. There's thousands of books in there that would make great movies, and this is one of them.
Right.
I
couldn't agree with you more as far as rebooting movies, because it's like it just shows, and Hollywood is just like a really kind of weird business anyway, but it just shows a lack of imagination for the people out there, that instead of taking something new, original, take a book off the shelf and make a movie of it. Yeah, they're rebooting,
Never-ending Story.
Is okay, but they're in Beverly Hills Cop, and come on, come up with something original, something that people would be interested in seeing, as opposed to, well, this is a date night movie, we just go,
I saw that they're getting ready to attempt Knight Rider again. This would be the second time that they have attempted to reboot Knight Rider. The first time failed. This one's going to fail even harder because they're using an 80s style Trans Am.
Yeah.
At least in the first attempt, they used like a car that was current.
Well, look at the Spider-Man. Look at the Spider-Man franchise. How many times they reboot? It's Superman. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's like everyone knows the Superman origin story. Everyone knows kind of the Spider-Man story. Why do you have to go back to the origin stories like 3 or 4 times? They're superheroes. People know about them. They want to see these people in an adventure. They don't want to see how they were born, came to Earth. You don't want to see it for the 5th time. And they tell it differently every time. Yeah, Hollywood definitely has a lack of imagination. But the problem is they make a lot of money on reboots.
Not for me.
That's why they do it. Yeah, I know, but I agree. But there's a lot of people who, we're going to go see, going to watch Knight Rider and think it's the new thing, So, they don't have to enjoy it. They just have to buy the ticket and turn on the channel. So,
true. But yeah, it's just. But I would actually. You know what? To hell with the movie on this. I'd like to see like a 3 or 4 part miniseries, like on Netflix or Amazon.
Yep.
That would do more justice to the story than a movie would.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's like in episodes. It's like in chapters, and it would really lend itself a lot to like a Netflix series or something. I agree with you there.
Yeah, you could even have like somebody with a very distinct voice, like Morgan Freeman or something, narrating it as it goes, and
it'd be funny.
I mean, the book is a very easy read too. It's 175 pages, and it's a really easy read. It's not like like a Stephen King book where there's 3 pages. He looked out the window. He saw a dog, and the dog reminded him of when he was 3 years old when he stubbed his toe after when he was looking at a bird that was flying through the air. It's just.
Right.
No, I love Stephen King. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I love Stephen King, but don't. But still, some of his work can be a little tedious.
Yeah, a lot of it is tedious, frankly. But here's the thing, is that, and I know this only because I've written so many books, is that people think that if it reads quickly, that means that you wrote it quickly. But that's the opposite is true. It reads quickly because you edit it and you re-edit it. Like I re-edited this book 5 times, and just to make sure that everything is concise, every every sentence moves to the next in the chapter, and then it moves along. You don't want to give anyone any excuse to be distracted. So Stephen King books, I mean, it's great if you want to get into them and get really into them. And the same thing with Harry Potter and all these like really, really long books. If you've got the time and the wherewithal to really delve deep into these things, that's great. They're not the books for me. And I just like something that tells a story and reads really quick. So when you said it reads really quick, once again, that's a real compliment to an author.
Okay, this is just I'm asking this question for personal reasons. When you were writing, and I had 2 books that are in the work, one fiction, one nonfiction.
Okay.
And and I'm busy and everything, so I'm not able to like sit down and dedicate. I need to sit down and dedicate like an hour to one book a night, an hour to the other book a night. I need to do that, and I just haven't gotten myself in that mindset. Is that normal for a new author to experience?
Yes. I mean, what happens is when I started, I was working a full-time job as well. And but see, I was lucky because I was able to sign book contracts from the beginning. And there's a difference, is that if you're writing a book on your own, then it is your own. But if you're writing a book because of a contract, you're writing it, I hate to say it, but you're writing it as a job for the money, but you also have a deadline, which means that you have to kind of train yourself to be disciplined enough to sit down, 7 a.m. and just, type away, until it's 7 at night or even longer. And it's hard to do. Every day it's hard to do,
Yeah.
And it's hard to do when you have a job. But the thing is when someone's paying for it, that is your job.
Right.
It's like going to the office for 8 hours and you just happen to be, writing, fiction or whatever. So having the incentive of actually having a deadline and money behind it, to me, that's the only thing that works. But for other people, as you say, you have to dedicate a weekend. Just put everything out of your mind, try to get away from everything else, and just sit there and type it and realize that what you're typing isn't going to be the finished product. It's the first of it. But that first draft is the most important thing, because everything else, all you have to do is massage that. You know what I mean? You're not writing whole chunks. You're just making it more readable, make it more concise. But I agree with you. Doing it with having a full-time job is very, very tough to do.
Yeah, and a full-time podcast.
Right. Yeah. Right. And especially these days, everyone's got more than one thing happening. So
yeah.
But if you like the book,
the time that I have, that I could be writing, I'm writing episodes for the podcast because I release every week. It's like this.
Yeah, right,
I don't have a script for this. When I do interviews, I never have a script. But when I cover serial killers and stuff like that, I have a script, and I'm writing that. One of the books that I'm writing, the fiction one, back in episode 50, it was April Fool's Day, and I wrote a fake true crime story about it was called The Dust Bowl Killer. It was about a serial killer that operated under the cover of the Dust Bowl. And
Good. Yep.
Yeah, and I had an author, is a friend of mine. He he's got turned on to the podcast and everything, and he was like, "Oh, I love this episode. I love that episode. Which episode do you recommend?" I said, "Oh, take a listen to episode 50." I'm setting him up, obviously. I get a phone call one night about 1 o'clock in the morning, and the killer's name is Thaddeus Morton. He's like, I get a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, "You Thaddeus Morton motherfucker!" he's like, you had me. It's like when you said April Fools, I made the whole thing up. He's like, I couldn't freaking believe it. I was like, "Fuck, you asshole!" And he's like, "Dude, you really need to make that a book." He's like, "You've already done the heavy lifting. All you have to do is fill it in."
Yeah.
That's one of them, and the other one, the nonfiction
the filling
one.
In part, I'll just say that the filling in part, what you just said, see, that's the fun part. Once you get that first draft out of the way, and you know how the story's going to start, middle, and end, then the filling in part and making it really readable and stuff. That's the fun part to me. But the writing of the first draft, it's like writing, a 500-page term paper in high school. Mm-hmm. It's a drag. It's a nightmare. It really is. But once you get that done, it's a lot easier after that.
Right. The nonfiction book is like my childhood. I was raised in a religious cult. So, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, yeah.
That's a hot topic there, dude. That's a very hot topic.
It is. And, I'm doing, we covered that in episodes 10 and 11. I told the story in a nutshell, but the book is going to be like everything. And that's rough. I've got on that one. I have probably about 25,000 words at the moment, and like
really?
4 chapters. Yeah, but I still have a long way to go. But
if you had if I could give you some free advice, I would concentrate on that one, because the difference is that in the publishing world, there's editors and there's publishers who are interested in fiction and nonfiction, and then they're interested in different kinds of fiction and nonfiction, right? So, but anything that is nonfiction and true to life, something like that compels people to read it, like being in a religious cult, and I'm assuming you escaped or whatever.
Well, it folded, and I basically just,
people love that kind of stuff. They really do. So you should finish that book and really kind of bring it to the attention of someone who can really help you out on it.
Yeah, that's the plan. I just got to find the time to do it. Let's get back to Vic, or Al, not Vic.
Mm-hmm.
There's another author that we've had on the show named Vic Ferrari. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
maybe they're related.
And Vic Ferrari is a pen name, but he was
yes,
he was a NYPD cop, and he writes humorous books about his experiences and
really
in the NYPD. He's
a
character.
In that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, love the guy, but I'm trying to think if there's another segment of this that we could talk about that. It's just okay. Here we go. Without giving too much away. Yeah,
Go ahead.
After he was presumed dead and all that stuff, he winds up with this hustle that's making him a lot of money.
Right. Yes.
And,
yeah.
And then one day he just gives it all up because he misses his wife.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like,
yeah. Why else would you give it up? I mean, he really kind of reaches his dream of a scam that is working, or a scheme that is working beyond all expectations. And it's kind of like, wow, what can change this? And he hadn't seen his wife for a long time, and he missed his wife, and that was it. And just knowing, Al and his wife, as I do.
Hold on.
When she read that part, she said to me, "Wow, you're telling everyone our life story here."
Say that again, because you kind of cut out there for a second.
Okay, like knowing Al and his wife, as I do, the real life Al and his wife. When his wife read the book and she got to that point where Al comes back because he misses her, she said, "You're telling everyone our life story here," So it kind of hit a note with her too.
Mm-hmm. And he was coming back knowing that he would be going to prison.
Right, going back to prison. Yeah,
back to prison.
That's love. That's love, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not gonna talk about the grand finale of this because
right, yes.
Yeah, but it just the ending. It's just like the whole roller coaster through the entire book. What happens at the end is like a whole nother level of like what are you doing to me?
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that, Irene.
No, this book is very well done. I really, really enjoyed it.
I appreciate that.
And I mean, I don't want to give too much away. Is there anything else in here that you think that we can talk about without really? I want my listeners to go buy the book.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's as you said, it's just chock full of just weird stories and funny stuff and stuff that happened to this guy, and but also his friends, and his friends are involved in it. And I think the best thing was, we get a lot of reviews on Amazon, and what a lot of people say is that he's kind of operating outside the law, but he's not a bad guy. You know what I mean?
Nah,
he's not a criminal, really. His heart's in the right place, and that makes him a compelling character.
It's kind of like, it's just like, like I said before, if life hands you a lemon, you make lemonade. It's just like he winds up in these situations. Not that he was looking for the situation. He winds up in the situation because it happens, and he makes. He does what he has to do, and he makes the best of it.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's how we all should be.
Indeed. You mentioned Amazon reviews. I should have thought about this. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. I'm just curious what people are saying.
Sure. Okay.
So many 5 stars. 4 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. In fact, on the entire first page, 85% of it is 5-star, 10% is 4-star, 3 stars, 5%, 2 and 1, 0. No 2s, no 1s.
Just get that one person who gave us a 3. We'll take care of him.
We'll send some of Al's buddies after him.
Right, exactly.
But fast-paced, funny, well-written. This book is a page-turner that will keep you on your toes. That sentiment that I already said.
Thank you.
Having grown up in Al's neighborhood during that period, I could easily relate to many of his antics. An easy, fun novel, well-written. Except it's not exactly a novel, though.
No, it's a little bit it's fictionalized, let's say.
Embellished a little. Mm-hmm. Not much, but a little.
Okay.
Great read. Couldn't put it down. If you're looking for something light and fun to read, this is the book for you. Follow the exploits of Al Ferrari, the most unlucky bastard ever. I had a hard time putting it down, if for no other reason than to see if Al would catch a break or have something go his way. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. And I'm going to read one more. What happens when a kid with great luck ends up in a film noir life? Amazing story, even more amazing that it's based in real life. The writing style was great, and the continuity remains, even though the different characters that are telling the story. That's what I was talking about the like the reporters or Officer Bruce or whatever.
Right.
It's like I love it when the book has me saying, well, maybe I'll read it. Maybe I'll read just one more chapter.
Yes, good to hear.
Yeah,
nice. I mean, I usually don't read any reviews, I do see how many stars we're getting, but, reading your own reviews is...
Oh, I know, it's not something... Right, but I hadn't looked at them, and I was... But, I would have really hated myself if there had been a bunch of 1 and 2 stars. But I knew that there wouldn't be, so that's why I'm just like, okay, let's take a look. I just knew it. I made a leap of faith and it paid off.
I'm glad to. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that too.
But I mean, I read the reviews on the podcast. We have this 1 star, 1 star. And she said that we were boring and monotone. And I'm just like, do I sound monotone to you?
No, no. That just means she's boring and monotone. That's
right, and we made fun of her. It was like we when we did the outro for the story where we read it, we were like, "Thanks a lot for listening. We hope you enjoyed it."
A taste of our own medicine. But hey, listen, it's always good to have an enemy, though. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
If you get all good reviews, then it's like, well, what's to it? But if you have someone out there who really dislikes you and is like on the case, it's just as good as a 5-star review. Mm-hmm. In many ways, because people will then say, well, what's so bad about this? And they'll read it and they'll like it, or they'll watch it and they'll like it, or they'll hear it and like it, and it's not always a negative thing.
Oh, I know. Well, but still, if we get a 1-star review, we're going to roast them.
Oh yeah, well that's their they're the ones who pulled the pin on the hand grenade. So
exactly. But my God, I would like to. I don't know. I'd like to meet Al at some. As I'm not in person, obviously, because you're in Massachusetts, I'm in Florida. But maybe we could work something out to where the two of you come on. That would be awesome.
Okay.
And
he would insist on being he'd have to wear some kind of a disguise because what he does these days, he's in contact with a lot of people who buy high-end cars, and they'd be very surprised if he.
I get you.
Yeah. He was involved in selling a Lamborghini to a member of Aerosmith, and which and I don't know if they want to know his life story, frankly. So, so if he came on with a disguise, though, he'd love to do it. Then you'd have a real 3-hour show, believe me, because he can tell the story.
And I'm sure there's a lot more than what's in the book.
Oh,
that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's kind of where I'm going with this.
There's a lot more. Believe me.
I mean, that one. What I'm thinking is we've never done a live stream before, but what I'm thinking for that one, live stream it. Let that be our first live stream, and people would probably go freaking nuts over that. I mean, it's just. Yeah, but
that would take 7-second delay. Is there a delay?
No.
You might.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't care about cussing and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's good. All right. Well, listen, I will talk to him. I think he'd be really pleased to do it, but he would have to be. I mean, I'm in my disguise here. I'm like Kiss. I can't go anywhere without makeup on, but. He would probably do it, but he would have to do some kind of in the shadow or profile in the shadow or something like that, because just so he wouldn't feel uneasy doing it.
Yeah, just put like a Nixon mask on him and cut the mouth out of it.
Okay, that's one road we can go down. Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably I could probably blur him. I've never done that before. Well, it's live, so I wouldn't be able to do that. So he'd have to wear a mask.
Right. Well, if we were really going to do this, we could go up to the radio station where we do our show, and we could do it from there. And it'd be a lot easier to do technical wise,
Okay.
So let's talk about that off air when we have a chance.
Okay. I sent in one of the emails I sent you when we were having our technical difficulties. I sent you my phone number. I was like, "Call me,"
okay.
But yeah, just send me a text. And I mean, I'm not going to call you out of the blue or anything, but I'll text you. And
yeah, sure.
And yeah, we'll get this going. I'm gonna I mean, my co-host has read the book, and he was like bummed that he wasn't able to be here. He's a member of the National Guard, and he got called.
Oh wow! Huh? Okay.
So it's just like there's just nothing you can do about that. But yeah, I mean we can do this. I mean this, I'm going to want to promote the hell out of this for like a month so that we can have live listeners. When it happens, because my co-host and I we've been talking about. It's like, okay, well, what are we going to do for our first live stream? We need to do a live stream. I think this is it.
Okay. All right. We're down for that.
Thanks for coming on. I mean, is there anything else you want to say about the book before we part ways?
I mean, if people can remember the title, How to Dump a Body at Sea and Not Get Caught, the Al Ferrari story. So just go to Amazon. The publisher wants us to, go on a list of places where you can buy it, but just go to Amazon. It's, you know what I mean? It's easier. It's quicker. Yeah, you'll get the book in a day. There it is. Yeah. So we had to design the cover ourselves, which is a whole other story. But it's just it was once we get the heavy lifting done, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. I can't.
CKCB listeners, I cannot stress buy this book, and we'll have a link for it in the in the show notes and everything, the Amazon link and whatnot.
I appreciate that. I do. Thank you.
Yeah, and all right. Well, we'll definitely be in touch about the the live stream, because I think that would be great.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. We're glad to do it, man. Anytime, just let us know.
Okay. Let's stay in touch. And, thanks a lot for listening. We appreciate it. Definitely buy Mack's book, How to Dump a Body at Sea and Not Get Caught, the Ferrari story. And, and like, subscribe, share, and all that stuff. If you like us, tell a friend. If you hate us, tell an enemy. And until next time, later.